Hello and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So, in this episode, I will be discussing the 2002 science fiction movie Star Trek Nemesis, which marks the 10th theatrical outing for the Star Trek franchise and finds the cast of the Star Trek Next Generation TV series in their fourth and final voyage, this time with director Stuart Baird. Or Bad. As a disclaimer, I will probably give some spoilers for this film and others in the Star Trek franchise, so please do switch off now if you don't want to hear any of the plot details of those films. Please do come back, however. I would love to have you back. Let me know what you thought of the film. Let me know what you thought of the review. Please do finish the review. But otherwise, yeah, please come back. But you've been warned otherwise. So, this time around, the film revolves around one of the most mysterious and secretive races in the Star Trek world, the Romulans, and even their more kind of reclusive cousins, the Remans, which does kind of present quite an interesting concept, I thought. At the beginning of the movie, we see the annihilation of the Romulan Senate in a takeover bid by Shinzon, a Reman, as played by none other than Tom Hardy. I actually forgot it was Tom Hardy, so it was quite interesting to see him play that role again. We then catch up with the crew of the Enterprise E and find Commander William Riker and Councillor Diana Troy, as played by Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis, respectively, carrying on their relationship that they kind of rekindled in the last movie, Insurrection. They're getting married. All of their friends and colleagues are there, including a couple we kind of missed in the team's previous outings, including Wesley Crusher and Guinan, as played by Will Wheaton and Whoopi Goldberg, respectively. Both of which have really only kind of very small walk-on parts, though, which was a shame. However, their celebrations are cut short when they receive an interesting signal from a planet close to the Romulan kind of Federation neutral zone border. The signal belongs to a series of android parts, which, surprisingly, belong to an android which looks like the Enterprise's own commander Data, as played by Brent Spiner. The mystery then deepens when Captain Jean-Luc Picard, as played by Patrick Stewart, is called to meet the new leader, so the Romulans' new leader, their Praetor Shinzon, on the planet Romulus, to discuss the beginnings of peace between the Romulans and the Federation. However, there are more sinister motives involved in the request for the Enterprise's presence. And it soon becomes apparent when the crew learn that Shinzon is actually a clone of Picard himself, having been created in a failed plan by a previous Romulan government to put a Romulan spy at the heart of Starfleet. However, since the plan was abandoned, he's kind of lived a life of slavery and hardship, despised by the Romulans that created him, but kind of pulling himself right up out of despair to become the leader of the Remans. Getting complicated here. With the help of his Reman Viceroy, as played by Ron Perlman. As it turns out, Shinzon is dying due to the cloning process used and needs Picard's blood to survive. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Shinzon's flagship carries one of the most devastating weapons ever created, well, at least at the time of the film, using something known as Thalaron radiation, which was banned, given that it literally obliterates all biological life upon contact. This time around, the threat is the eradication of life within the Federation. So, now, compared to the previous two entries in the Star Trek movie series, First Contact and Insurrection, this film simply fails to hit the spot. Don't get me wrong, it's a decent attempt and has some real good sci-fi concepts. However, it just feels like the cast are just going through the motions at times, and the playful and explorative nature of the characters that we had seen previously, even though it does feel like they're trying, all just seems to have disappeared in favour for a fairly convoluted and overbearing plot, which, although should be fairly simple to understand, just comes across as complicated and overburdensome. I personally enjoy the movie, but it doesn't rank amongst the best Star Trek there is. It is better than Generations, though for a Next Generation movie, it's not the best. And it is good science fiction, I think, but it is a much darker than its predecessors, and perhaps not quite as accessible to a wider audience, with quite a lot of the understanding of issues and the Federation's history required, really, somewhat to get the most out of what you're seeing. With the darkness of the movie overall, you do get the feel that they're trying to take it down a more serious route overall. Now, don't get me wrong, Star Trek isn't supposed to be all light-hearted and full of comedy, but you do usually find that the cast themselves have fun with the roles, a bit of banter with each other, which does shine through occasionally in the movie, but there are some real awkward moments. Almost kind of like they step back to the start, almost Generations-esque for me. Nemesis starts dark and stays dark from the minute go with some real serious connotations. One thing the movie does excel at is its special effects. It has some excellent shots of the Enterprise E and some absolutely spectacular battle sequences with the amazingly designed and quite imposing Riemann Predator warbed, the Scimitar, especially when the Enterprise E is all out of options and firepower, so Picard takes the unorthodox decision to simply ram the Scimitar with the Enterprise, a tactic which takes Shinzon by utter surprise and allows the team to gain a slight upper hand. We even see the Romulans offering a helping hand, which is a turn-up for the books and wholly unexpected. Certainly helps pave the way for a new era of cooperation with the Romulans, which may not have otherwise have existed. Jerry Goldsmith also returns on top form once again to helm for the musical themes. And again, this does stand out with some fantastic, really kind of rousing battle beats. I wouldn't say it's one of his best that is produced, but it is still fairly decent, and it does fit the tone of the movie very well. I believe that this was also Goldsmith's last outing as composer for the Star Trek movie series, with this kind of mantle being passed to Michael Giacco in the next 3 films in the series. So in this, I would just like to say that whilst this isn't the best Star Trek soundtrack penned by Goldsmith, the sheer legacy of his music in these films is an absolute testament to his talent and devotion to his work. Thoroughly enjoyed by all, and with a series of themes across the board instantly recognisable as Trek. So, this was also indeed the last outing for the cast of The Next Generation on the big screen, as due to poor performance of this movie, they never got a chance to finish their story. Well, which, for me at least, was certainly a shame, especially given the Wrath of Khan-esque kind of cliffhanger that this film is left on, albeit not quite as potent. I believe that the intention was that there was going to be more of a story to tell, and it's certainly insinuated in the film. Now, it's nice on this respect that I believe, as I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, I'll be honest, and of course you can correct me if you wish, that in the new series Picard, it looks like we might actually get some kind of closure for some of the elements left in the balance, so to speak. So, one thing I would like to say, actually, just out of interest really, is that our son, Oliver, has been watching some of the Star Trek movies with me as he falls asleep on a night. I have been watching each at approximately the same time each night, up to the point of watching Nemesis. He had fallen asleep about halfway through each one. But Nemesis? No. He was getting well into it. And, you know, I'm not sure that he understood it all, but nonetheless, he was enthralled and watched every second. Something I really wasn't expecting at all, given my sort of understanding of the movie and the plot and things. But hey. So, overall, whilst being perhaps quite a dark film and not up to there with the greatest Trek films ever made, it does have some redeeming qualities, such as a particularly impressive battle sequence between the Enterprise and the Riemann flagship, the Scimitar. Absolutely stunning special effects and a decent premise, I thought, if but not so well executed. Saying that, however, it just seems like the banter and the fun that each of the actors was having with the roles just wasn't present as it once was, and almost seemed like a step back to that we saw in Generations, albeit not quite as bad as that. The movie is a bit of a letdown really, considering that this was the last hurrah for the Enterprise E, and its crew. Especially when you do consider the success of the previous two movies in the Next Generation, from the Next Generation team. Part of me just can't really help wonder what kind of film we may have ended up with if Jonathan Frakes had directed the film following his success with First Contact and Insurrection. You have to wonder why they didn't choose to go down that route. So, yeah, that brings me to the end of this episode. And of course, the Next Generation cast outing in the Star Trek franchise. We now move on to the reboot series in the next 3 episodes. So, thank you very much for watching. Yes, I do hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you have. Please do consider hitting that subscribe button. We'd love to have you back. Please do. For more movie reviews, movie trailer reactions, other movie-related episodes, gameplays, that kind of thing. Most of all, though, thank you very much for watching. Please do come back, visit us again. We'd love to have you. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.